Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game So today we're going to continue the series, the Unported Playlist, where I take some of my favorite unported arcade games of all time, and today we're playing NASCAR Arcade on the Sega Hikaru hardware. More aptly, we're playing it on Demul now that it does emulate Hikaru games pretty much near to perfect. And honestly, if there's a Sega racing game out there, you know it's the type of thing I'm going to talk about on the channel. And even though I love all Sega Arcade racing games, I would say NASCAR Arcade definitely is hit or miss for me personally. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But NASCAR Arcade on paper has a lot going for it. It absolutely has some insanely good physics, and it has that classic Sega racing you know, love, and remember. And honestly, this kind of feels like the mature, grown-up version of the oval in Daytona USA or Daytona USA 2. But the reality of NASCAR Arcade is, I've never actually been able to get good at this game. There is a drifting mechanic, even if there really isn't anything to say, you are drifting on the screen, because you basically need to keep very close to the cars behind you if you want to pass them. You'll see in the top right hand corner we have a timer that is counting down. When that counts down, the game is going to be over, and to get more time you have to pass more cars to get to the next target position. But you'll see here I'm not racing perfectly, but I'm doing relatively well, and actually catching up to the pack can be very difficult on normal mode. This is the type of game I can't recommend enough. Go into the test menu and absolutely just set it to easy, because even there you're going to have a hell of a challenge actually trying to finish a race in NASCAR Arcade. And I totally get it, for an arcade cabinet this kind of more simmy vibe going on and more challenging would work, because you get like 2 minutes of gameplay and then you would move on with your day. But when you're not actually sitting at the arcade cabinet and you're trying to win a race, this is the type of thing you may have to play it for 2-3 hours before you actually get good enough to even see the end of one of these races. And honestly, even though I wasn't racing perfect there, I feel like I was doing well enough to actually be able to see the checkered flag. And that is the thing about NASCAR Arcade. If you make a mistake, you're absolutely going to be punished for it, and you may as well just restart the race and try again, because you have to be near to perfect when you're playing this thing. One wrong move, one wrong turn, one wrong bump of a car in front of you, and you'll basically scrub half of your speed and spend the next 25 to 30 seconds catching up to where you were before. Because this might be an arcade racing game, but it plays way more almost like a Gran Turismo sim. Not in the fact that the handling is all that accurate, but in the fact that you basically have a very punishing scenario here. Because you'll see I spun that car out, and I definitely dropped back some speed even if I got that place. And as you get further up into the pack, the places are going to jump up as well. All we need to do is get to 22nd place here to be able to get more time on the actual clock. And I am now playing this on easy mode. You'll see here, that's not too hard, but after we get there, trying to continue on with the race again can be a very difficult thing. And I like that difficulty, but also if I don't have the time to dedicate to learning the game again, I basically play this for like 10 minutes and end up going back to something like Daytona USA 2 or any of the other Sega racing games out there. Even if you are a NASCAR fan, I'm just not sure how you would feel about this one, but you will see definitely slingshotting into position there. What I do love about it is, of course, because it's on Hikaru, at least when this game came out, it was one of the prettiest, most realistic looking racing games you could get in the NASCAR genre or anything else. And it's definitely obviously gotten a lot better 3D wise in 2025 or 2026, depending on when you're going to be watching this, than it was back in the year 2000. But if you saw this arcade cabinet on arcade floors back then, you would have been absolutely blown away by just how realistic these graphics appeared. And I would say in some ways with the ground flying past here, kind of feels like the NASCAR version of something like Initial D without the drifting. But now that I'm in 13th place, you can see trying to get up to 10th is going to prove to be very difficult, because I am burning off a lot of time here on the clock trying to actually pass the cars in front of me. But we're going to go to the first quote-unquote soundtrack sample. The music in this game is a little bit unbalanced. It's mostly going to be engine noises, but the good thing is they're really fun engine noises, so listen, and I'll be right back. Car number 60 got car trouble. And you'll see there I did run out of time in that race because basically I could not catch up to the cars in front of me. And I realized because I am feeling a little bit under the weather this week, there is a draft icon. I was just being an idiot. As opposed to going through and redoing the entire voiceover, I figured you'd want to know that sometimes even video game esoterica does make mistakes, so I'm clarifying that right now. But that kind of is the thing about NASCAR Arcade. It can be very difficult to actually try to get into the positions you need to. On these races here with a lot of the turns, it can actually be a little bit easier because there aren't as many vehicles in the mix. But if one of those vehicles bumps you from behind, you're going to get knocked off course. And you'll see there I went back all the way into 15th position again. And when you actually hit one of those target positions, if you spin out and go to the back of the pack, you're going to have to basically get back to where you were before you can even start trying to climb your way to that next position. I would say this position timer maybe is a little bit of a game design mistake, at least in my opinion. But you leave me a comment down below and you tell me how you feel about it. I just want a timer and checkpoints. That way I'm kind of racing against myself with the pack in the mix there versus actually trying to get through all these positions. Because sure, you can spin a few cars out to try to get further up, but at this point in time, that one mistake there, which I definitely did cause, is going to just push me back to the point where trying to catch up to the 3 cars in front of me is going to be very difficult. And that's kind of the rub of NASCAR Arcade, pun very much intended for the bump and rub racing we have here. If you play everything right, you can definitely win this game, but you have to be damn near perfect to be able to actually even finish a race. You'll see here something got really weird with the controls, which is something that can happen every once in a while in emulation. Figured I would just leave it in a short to you guys. If this happens, definitely quit Demul and just relaunch the game again, because for some random reason the controls will basically invert themselves, and I'm still not really sure why something like that would happen. But it is one of those things. The emulation is incomplete, but it is a good time to go into the first person view and basically show you what the game looks like. And there's something about going into first person view that will definitely affect how your steering actually works. Again, I'm really not sure why that is, but if you do encounter that, definitely keep that in mind. Let's move back to the original race again and try one more time to do our absolute best here, just so you can see how incredibly difficult this game is. But if you like a difficult arcade racing game and you want to spend multiple hours on learning this, this could be your new favorite arcade racer. It just comes down to how you actually feel about difficulty in arcade racing games, and if you want to challenge it and try to memorize everything and get a good sensation of the flow of the course, or if you just want to grip it and rip it, hit the gas, pretend the brake doesn't exist, and play some arcade racing. But I will say, again, this game absolutely does what it's trying to do well. It just ends up being slightly too hard for me. But it is one of those things. I love Sega Hikaru, and this is one of the few games on that platform that you might still see in arcades today, because this and Star Wars Racer were 2 of the games that definitely were more successful, and I do know a few of these cabinets are still out there in the wild. But leave me a comment down below and you tell me, did you ever play this one in arcades back in the day, and have you ever seen a cabinet? And if so, if you played it recently, leave me your thoughts down below as well. Maybe I'm just being a little bit too unfair to it because I think it's hard, but it is just one person's opinion. But one more quote-unquote soundtrack sample, because again, definitely sells the illusion of racing, and I'll be right back with just a little bit more NASCAR. I mean, NASCAR Arcade definitely is a challenging game, and it is a fun game, and it's a very pretty game for its year of release. Maybe the reality is, maybe I'm just not good at this one, because not every single game is made for every single person, and something I think might not be for me could absolutely be your next favorite title. But I know Sega has made an absolute metric ton of arcade racing games, because I've basically covered every single one of them on the channel at some point in time. And now that NASCAR Arcade is good enough to be able to be emulated and fully playable at full speed, so long as you have a high enough power PC, it's definitely one that you want to check out. And just so you know, for a baseline, I'm running an i9-12900K with 64 gigabytes of RAM, as well as a 3080 Ti. So I have all the horsepower in the world to get this thing running correctly, but if you have some sort of frame pacing issues or you're not running full speed, you may just end up having to upgrade your PC if you want Hikaru emulation, because it is pretty high test. but honestly, the fact that it works in the first place is amazing. Now I'm able to do all of these games on imported playlists because exactly one game ever actually left Hikaru and came to consoles, the virtual on game. Everything else basically stayed exactly where it was, which is definitely unfortunate because some of these games would have been great on consoles back in the day. But NASCAR Arcade is definitely an acquired taste for me. I've never actually acquired that taste, but for you, you might absolutely find it in here. But don't worry, there's more arcade racing games on the Hikaru that I'll definitely be talking about shortly, and a ton of other fun games as well. But we're done. I'm going to keep on racing. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.